A very good evening to all the lovely kids. It's time for children's bedtime treasury with Let Emotion Speak. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to my channel for more bedtime stories each night. Today's story is about the castle in the clouds. There was once a family that lived in a little house in a village at the bottom of a mountain. At the top of the mountain was a great grey castle made of granite. The castle was always shrouded in clouds, so it was known as the castle in the clouds. From the village, you could only just see the outline of its high walls and turrets. No one in the village ever went near the castle, for it looked such a gloomy and forbidding place. Now, in this family, there were 7 children. One by one, they went out in the world to seek their fortune, and at last, it was the youngest child's turn. His name was Sam. His only possession was a pet cat named Jess, and she was an excellent rat catcher. Sam was most upset at the thought of leaving Jess behind when he went off to find work, but then he had an idea. I'll offer Jess services at the castle in the clouds. They're bound to need a good ratter, and I'm sure I can find work there too, he thought. His parents were dismayed to discover that Sam intended to seek work at the castle, but try as they might, they could not change his mind. So Sam set off for the castle with Jess at his side. Soon the road started to wind up the mountainside through the thick pine forests. It grew cold and misty. Rounding a bend, they suddenly found themselves up against a massive grey stone wall. They followed the curve of the wall until they came to the castle door. Sam went up to the door and banged on it. The sound echoed spookily. "Who goes there?" said a voice. Looking up, Sam saw that a window high in the wall had been thrown open and a face was eyeing him suspiciously. I, I, I wondered if you would be interested in employing my cat as a rat catcher, began Sam. The window slammed shut, but a moment later a hand beckoned him through the partly open castle door. Stepping inside, Sam and Jess found themselves face to face with an old man. "Rat catcher, did you say?" said the old man, raising one eyebrow. "Very well, but she'd better do a good job, or my master will punish us all." Sam sent Jess off to prove her worth. In the meantime, Sam asked the old man, who was the castle guard, if there might be any work for him too. "You can help out in the kitchen. It's hard work, mind it," the guard said. Sam was soon at work in the kitchens. And what hard work it was! He spent all day peeling vegetables, cleaning pans, and scrubbing the floor. By midnight, he was exhausted. He was about to find a patch of straw to make his bed when he noticed Jess wasn't around. He set off in search for her. Down dark passages he went up, winding staircase, looking in every corner and behind every door, but there was no sign of her. By now, he was hopelessly lost and was wondering how he would ever find his way back to the kitchens, when he caught sight of Jess' green eyes shining like lanterns at the top of a rickety spiral staircase. "Here, Jess!" called Sam softly, but Jess stayed just where she was. When he reached her, he found that she was sitting outside a door and seemed to be listening to something on the other side. Sam put his ear to the door. He could hear the sound of sobbing. He knocked gently at the door. "Who is it?" said a girl's voice. I am Sam, the kitchen boy. What's the matter? Can I come in? Said Sam. If only you could, sobbed the voice. I'm Princess Rose. When my father died, my uncle locked me in here so that he could steal the castle. Now I fear I shall never escape. Sam pushed and pushed at the door, but to no avail. Don't worry, he said. I'll get you out of here. Sam knew exactly what to do, for he had been talking to the guard. He had spotted a set of keys hanging on a nail in the rafters high above the old man's head. He had wondered at the time why anyone should put keys out of reach of any human hand. Now he thought he knew, but first he had to get the keys himself. Sam and Jess finally made their way back to where the keys were, only to find the guard was fast asleep in his chair right underneath them. Quick as a flash, Jess had leaped up onto the shelf behind his head. From there, she climbed higher and higher until she reached the rafters. She took the keys in her jaws and carried them gingerly down. But as she jumped from the shelf again, she knocked over a jug and sent it crashing to the floor. The guard woke with a start. Who goes there? He growled. He just caught sight of the tip of Jess's tail as she made a dash for the door. Sam and Jess retraced their steps with the guard in hot pursuit. You go a different way, hissed Sam, running up the stairs to Rose's door, while the old man disappeared off after Jess. Sam put one of the keys in the lock. It fitted. He turned the key and opened the door. There stood the loveliest girl he had ever seen. The princess ran towards him as he cried, Quick! There's not a moment to lose. He grabbed her hand and led her out of the tower. Give me the keys, she said. She led him down to the castle cellars. At last, they came to a tiny door. The princess put the second key in the lock and the door opened. Inside was a small cupboard, and inside that was a golden box filled with precious jewels. My own box, stolen by my uncle, cried Rose. Grabbing the box, the pair ran to the stables and saddled a horse. Suddenly, Jess appeared with the guard still chasing him. With a mighty leap, Jess landed on the back of the horse behind the princess and Sam. Off we go, cried Sam. And that was the last that any of them saw of the castle in the clouds. Sam married the princess and they all lived happily ever after. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let me know in the comments below. See you tomorrow with another great bedtime story. Time to say goodbye and good night.